one, you're going to have the smallest turnouts with the smallest payouts with the lowest amount of exposure. If you then go to Twitch and YouTube, you're going to have the smallest demographic of just bodies of people watching you. It's just going to be small. There's a channel that has always been really small called Action RPG. You might know him, Aaron. I've watched him since the very beginning when he only had like 5,000 and 10,000. He used to say, subscribe to support smaller channels. And even view-wise, he does okay, but the viewerships are not like, 100,000 views per video. He's got over 100,000 views when Last Epoch came out, because not that he was like a massive channel, but because just how many bodies buy games like this. It's not hard to blow up a YouTube channel. In the FGC, it's very difficult because there's just not enough people watching. So if you're a young, talented player, why would you say I'm going to come to the smallest scene, the smallest
I mean,
eyeballs watching
me
me,
being,
lowest amount of exposure,
streaming
the
fighting
lowest
games and
amount of
stuff like
exposure,
that, I
lowest
can kind
turnout?
of concur as well. It has
As a
been
streamer,
difficult
you're
to
going
grow the
to get the
channel,
lowest amount
but
of
part of
eyeballs
that's on
watching.
me because I don't have the
Even though
consistency as some other
you're
people.
making
There have been
work
people
with
who have seen
anyone, try
a
to
lot of
buy a
success
player
streaming
account
fighting games. I mean, you have
and
people like your
come
Lose
to the
Streaks, your
FGC,
Losty Girls,
want
your
to watch a
Honeybees,
stream or
your I'm blanking on
the
some other
FGC is a
people's name,
massive
but you have
stable
people who've done very well
YouTube
streaming fighting
anyone that has that
games.
ability. And that's
So,
another thing that's concerning
but
for
I
me.
will say it is difficult because
It's
there
not
is a
hard
lot
as
less
it
people
is.
that tend to
And there
be
are
interested in
massive
watching fighting
majority of
games
anyone
over
that has
something
one account that you're
like a
able to do
Battlefield or a
big and
shooting
better
game.
games. Why come here? There's no reason for it.
Mhm. Yeah,
So tell me.
and even the people who has grown their channels, they've grown their channels over the course of like years. It's not like overnight sensation type things. Most of them were not overnight sensations. They were people who've been streaming and putting out fighting game content for years. You do have like your Rufamangas, you do have your true underdogs, you do have your Maximilians, which have a lot of
If your
people,
goal
yeah,
was
who have like a lot
to
of
be a
people
professional
and a lot of
YouTuber and I want to
subscribers and
make a
stuff like that.
living, a
But
living,
again, that was something they developed
quit
over the
YouTube
course of
by today.
years.
No, no, yeah,
That's
I
what I should say.
understand
Sorry,
that, but I
Joseph.
think
My mistake.
fair enough. But like, I think all of us, the way we became friends is not because we were gonna play MK9 and make all this money, or Tom, even obviously you had been there before us. Like, we just played it, and honestly, I like the fact that the FGC is small. It's kind of like my way uh to escape reality, hang out with a couple of friends. I'm kind of the opposite of most people want. I don't want the attention most of the time. I want to like hang out with a couple of friends, maybe not be myself, kind of escape reality. That's the reason why I initially started playing, be this kind of jerk in the FGC because I like the zone. Most people hate that. It's kind of, again, my escape of reality. I think that's a good thing. But I understand it's a recent phenomena. Like Tom was saying, try to make money off of YouTube, expand your audience, like stuff like. I have never cared about that. I really, I mean, I want to have an influence, but not to the extent that I want to make money. I already have a good job. I don't need. I mean, it would be nice to get more, but it's just like uh, to me, it's superfluous. Like, it's not really that necessary. Maria, go ahead and jump in. How do you like? What's your
Well, let
take?
me ask you guys, why do you guys feel the FGC isn't big, or fighting games in general? Is it because people don't resonate with the fighting games as much? Is it because they're not seen as in a high regard, uh, regarding skill
People don't
compared
like
to like
fighting
first?
games.
Ooh, that's a good question. I am curious to know what their answer is to it, because it's like, why, like, fighting games has been around for decades now. Like like Street Fighter 1 came out in the 80s. Like Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat has been out since like the early 90s. I'm talking about 91, 92 type stuff. So like, in fact, fighting games has been out longer than some of the genres that are out now that are bigger than the fighting game community. Like the whole battle royale community is relatively new compared to like the fighting games that are out. Some of these RPGs that are out are relatively new compared to the fighting game community, like the MMOs and stuff like that. They're relatively new compared to like the fighting game community, which has been around for 30, 40 years now. So I that is a good question as to why do you think after all these years, all these decades, all these different fighting games, because there's so many different fighting games, from your Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, your Tekkens, your Virtual Fighters, your Dead or Alive, your Killer Instincts, your Dragon Ball Z's, your Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storms, your Smash Brothers. Like, there are so many different fighting games. Your Mario versus Capcom. Like, there are so many, and there's so many that's coming out too. You have the 2XKO, you have the Invincible Versus, you have the Marvel Tokon game, you have like the X-Men Mutant Academy. There was so many different Darkstalkers. There's so many different fighting games that are out that appeals to such a wide range of people. But yet the fighting game community, which has been out for as long as it is I'm not going to say small, because I don't think this fighting game community is small, but it's relatively small to so many of the other genres, like the first person shooter. Like the fighting games have been out before first person shooters, I want to say, or around the time the first person shooters. When did Doom come out? I want to say fighting games was out before Doom. I don't remember, but it's been around for a long time. But it's just one of those genre of gaming that like not a lot of people get into.
They're not fun. They're not fun. They're not fun for most
That's
people.
an interesting point to bring up, Tom, because you know what's crazy?
Why are they not fun?
Dude, no, that's an interesting point to give up, what you just said. People don't find fighting games fun. When you think about it, like I have a couple friends that talk sometimes, they're not into fighting. And sometimes I ask them, like, why do you guys not like fighting games? They're like, they're just bad, they're spammy, they're just like, you know, they just don't like that. And it's weird how fighting games have this perception of being like an easy mash, do stuff, being annoying type of game. Whereas other games, like whether it's a MOBA or a first-person shooter, or whatever the current popular genre is, they're not seen as that. They're considered games that have a lot of skill. They're very consistent. Like it's worth playing because it's. But fighting games aren't seen in that way. Fighting games are just seen as these like scrubby, mashy games, and it's kind of crazy. Even in
I agree with you, Val. Like fighting games is never going to die. It's never going to die. There's too many options, and there's too many fan favorite fighting games out there.
A button on knockdown, or they beat you, or the armor. So even the casuals who don't even play fighting games seriously don't like that aspect. But us who do play these games seriously, that's still a form of that in the game. So it's almost like fighting games just have this negative perception around it that turns a lot of people off. Like they just don't take the game seriously. They don't like them. They think they're mashy, and because of that, they can't really grow when most people just treat them as a joke.
Well, let me give you a couple of examples. For one, Dave brings up a great example when he talks about casual players who say, "Oh, this, that, MK9." Dave's like, "Huh, yeah, so fun. Why don't you come play my Freddy? I'll come out of retirement and take it seriously and tell me how much fun you have." And he's not wrong. While I may sit there and go through the fire of losing until I got it right, or how many times I've played Rio and I've struggled against Cabal while I was learning, right? Most people are not going to do that. Most people, losing sucks for most people. It takes something special to lose.
See, he says that like losing sucks, and yes, losing does suck. Nobody wants to lose, but people lose in those shooting games too. Like if you're playing Call of Duty, you're not gonna win every game. Sometimes you might carry a team and still lose, and that can be more frustrating than playing a fighting game. Because in a fighting game, especially if it's 1v1, if you lose, you know you lost because you lost. That person was better than you for the most part, unless it was like a lag or bullshit, something crazy like that. But for the most part, if you lose in a fighting game, you know that was all on you. In these shooting games, dude, like you can be carrying somebody and still lose and be pissed off at your team. Or you can be playing against a team and just getting completely smoked and being the reason that your team is losing. Or you can just be, all can be doing pretty good and still lose. So like in these shooting games, you can still lose. And don't let me get into the Battle Royale games. These Battle Royale games, you're going to lose 90% of the time, bro. Like when you're playing Apex Legends or Fortnite or something like that, like, yes, you're having a good time. You're having a good time losing. You're having a good time losing because 90% of the time, you're going to be losing in those Battle Royales. Man, like if you, oh my God, I wish I can look at the stats on Apex Legends to see how many games I've actually won and how many games I've actually played in Apex Legends, dude. I might have won, if I played 1,000 games, I might have only won like 10 games, which means the other 990 games that I've played that I was enjoying myself for the most part, there have been a few losses that was extremely frustrating, were games that I was losing and having a good time doing so. Whereas in a fighting game, if I'm gonna lose, at least I'm losing because I know it's on me, and then there is a road for me to improve. No one wins every game, and if they do, then I'm sure they get bored at some point if no one gives them real competition. 99% losses. Yes, it's 99% losses when it comes to those battle royale games, bro.
And
It's
that's
like
what fighting games are.
it's like 99% losses. When you think of those battle royale games, you're going to lose the majority of the time. You play like Call of Duty, the Warzone joint. When we play Call of Duty Warzone or the Battlefield joint, dude, I don't even think we've won in Battlefield. What up, Fat Cats? What up, Sin? Collapse? Like, I don't think we've ever even won in the Battlefield game. And I don't know how many games we've probably played, like 50 games of that Battlefield. What is it, Red Sec or whatever? Have not won a Warzone game at all in that joint. Still having a good time in it though. We still be having fun in it. Same thing with Warzone. Like when you play Warzone, you're losing the majority of the time in Warzone. Like out of 10 games, you'll be lucky if you win 2. You'd be lucky if you win 2. And it could still be frustrating too. Like if you're going like on a crazy losing streak, which you're gonna go on crazy losing streaks on these battle royale games, it could be frustrating, but people still play it, which is weird when you think of like people don't play fighting games because they lose a lot. Well, you lose a lot in these battle royale games. You know what I mean? Like the only games that you might get 50% is if you're playing like a Call of Duty or something like that, and you're just playing like the versus mode. That you might be closer to like 50-50. And some of that is because you might get a good team that carries you. Battlefield is fucking hard. Yes, Battlefield is absolutely hard. But basically, the what we were just talking about is they mention. Now I'm watching a stream full of like fighting game people, particularly Mortal Kombat fighting game people, and they're talking about like the failure of 2XKO and the fighting game community and stuff like that. And one of the questions was, why do you think more people don't play fighting games? And basically, what they were saying is because people tend to lose a lot in fighting games. And my thing is like, if you think of like some of the biggest genres that are out right now, like the battle royale genre, you're losing 99% of the time in those battle royale genres, and people are still having a good time. So if that's the case, why aren't they giving a chance to like the fighting games? Valseed says, did you watch the Warzone vid I sent last week with me and my bro and Rich? Got the win. Okay. The level of excitement and screaming we did after that win, that's the joy of winning 1 out of 100 games. That's true. That's true. But there is a joy when you're playing a fighting game when you're going against somebody that is extremely difficult. Like how many times me and you have played Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, the Boruto joint, and you beat me by the skin of your teeth. Is that not exciting? Is that not joyful? There's been a couple times I freaking screamed or just took like a gas of air or something like that when I like screeched out a win. In fact, there was a couple times where like I killed you, not realizing I killed you, and then I realized, oh shit, I just won, and I'd be like, oh yes, let's go, and I just get hyped. Like I get hyped. Like you can get that same excitement playing a fighting game as well, and it's even more rewarding because you're doing it by yourself in a fighting game. You're not being carried by somebody else or being helped by anybody else. So it's actually more rewarding when you do get those really tough wins against really tough opponents in a fighting game.
And that's not fun for most people. It's not. That's just the truth.
What
and
about
there's
the
barely any
argument
modes
that
in fighting games too.
former?
It says it's barely any modes.
Yeah, let me just
Sorry,
say this
go ahead,
real quick. This is not even my argument. I just want to present it. Yeah, Crimson Shadow made a post saying that essentially the FGC is kind of quote unquote waiting for a savior game, and every time they think there's going to be a savior game, there's disappointment, there's disillusionment, for that game. Like people. It is true. He's right. When people were saying, "Oh, when Tekken 8 comes out, you will guys see everybody's gonna play Tekken 8," and then Tekken 8 came out. There was a massive honeymoon phase, and then we all know, season 2 came out, and we all know what happened after that. And obviously, it's 2XKO now. Before that, it was Fatal Fury, right? Like
Zalti says, those last minute desperation wins feel great. Sometimes the losses bring joy because you become proud of that your opponent did something smart and unexpected. It also teaches you what to look out for and try. I'm assuming you're talking about like when we play fighting games, when we're playing Ultimate Ninja Storm, which that's true. There are times where you would beat me and I was like, oh, that was cool. That was awesome. That was smart. Like, that was so cool. Like, and that's because you, like, let's say like you called out a summons and I didn't see the summons, and then the summons just catch me lacking, and you maybe like converted it into something. So like, yes, it has been times where I've been proud of you, even though I took the L, and that's because you just did something cool as hell. You just did something like really cool and it caught me off guard that I was not expecting or did not see coming. And then it also allows me to reflect and like, okay, I got to be on the lookout for something like that. And then when you do it again and I do block it the next time, then I feel proud of myself because I caught it that time. So yeah, like fighting games give the same type of pleasure that a lot of these other games give. More so, if anything, because it's a competition between you and one other person for the most part. And like when you're able to overcome that person, you have this sense of pride. And there's so many times where like I either took the W by the skin of my teeth, just like on some lucky hit, like, and maybe I threw a kunai down, like a kunai down, and the joints exploded, and you didn't see it, and it hit you and helped me win. And then I'll just be so excited because of something like that. Because if that didn't happen, I was gonna lose. Like if that one thing didn't happen, I was about to take that L. So like it'd just be so exciting, and that's the type of stuff you get with other games too.
Already seen this before in Deception, a fighting game that came out literally 25 years ago. So you want me to grind this now again? Here's the thing. Here's what I don't understand about fighting games. They try to like be different from each other and unique and stuff, but then they don't actually try to introduce like brand new, unique mechanics. Like,
ooh, I disagree with that.
Most of these fighting games, even though they're different in how you would play them, like, this game you have air dashing, this game's 3v3, this game's 1v1. Most of them, at the end of the day, rely on, okay, what's the mix-up? What's the 50-50? Is it going to armor or not? Is it going to do this? And they don't try to be as different as they could. The only other games that come to mind are like things like Multiverse that had a whole other host of issues with the game launch with barely any content and no characters. And then you have Smash. But then when fighting games are too different, like Smash, people say, well, that's not a fighting game because it's not, where's my 50-50 and mix? Into health bar, into, I guess, strike twice and you lost. So I don't even know.
I kind of disagree with that because we've had like innovations in fighting games. Like for example, Mortal Kombat 11, people hate it, but the crushing blow is relatively innovative and it's so casual friendly. That a lot, like, people love and hate the crushing blow system. You also have like the various wake up systems in Mortal Kombat 11 too. You have like the up block in MK1, so they do implement stuff. You have like the punish counters in, what was it, Street Fighter 5 or something like that. Like if you punish counter somebody, it'll be like a crushing sound, and then you can actually get in there and do like a combo or whatever. So they've implemented stuff, like for example, Street Fighter 5 implemented the V trigger and the V reversals and stuff like that, which was actually pretty cool. So they have been innovative, maybe not to the extent that he probably wants to, but there has been innovation in fighting games.
Massive could come out in the next fighting game, and by making it massive, they would have to put so much effort into the game, not only the gameplay, but everything outside the gameplay, like multiple different story modes, 20 different game modes, being able to play open world with your friend, like an MK Deception. Like they would have to add so much other stuff.
How exactly does crushing blows work? Well, most crushing blows in Mortal Kombat 11 tend to be like counter blows, meaning somebody threw out an attack and they missed, or you hit them before their attack can get out, and that will trigger like a crushing blow. But then other crushing blows have statistics, meaning you have to hit somebody with this particular move a certain amount of time, and then on the third time, that move will give you a crushing blow. So you can set up crushing blows, so you can actually plan your game plan around activating a crushing blow. So for example, Liu Kang has the bicycle kick. If Liu Kang hits you with the bicycle kick, I want to say like 3 times or something like that, the 4th time Liu Kang hits you with the bicycle kick, it'll activate a crushing blow. So a lot of times when you play Liu Kang player, what they'll do is they'll do combos into bicycle kick. They'll count and mentally keep a note on how many times they hit you with the bicycle kick. And then once they load up the crushing blow, they'll save it. They won't do the bicycle kick no more until an opportune time. Whether it be something where if let's say they're getting their butt kicked and they need to use that crushing blow in order to enact a comeback, then they can do it like that. Or if it's a situation where if they activate the crushing blow, they can win. So there's like mind games and ways to play around certain crushing blows. And then you also just have certain crushing blows where like if you throw out an attack and miss and I hit you while you're still in the animation of your attack, then I can get a crushing blow and get some heavy damage. You also have crushing blows around armor break, meaning when somebody like breaks away from your combos, if you predict that, if you guess correctly and you make a right read that they're going to break away from your combo and you do your armor break move, a lot of the times it'll trigger some sort of crushing blow for like massive damage, or it'll bounce them back up so that you can continue comboing them.
Whether they play 1 fighting game or 30 fighting games, to them their experience never changes. So they get, it's like they're like, it's a fighting.
So I mean, in Mortal Kombat 11, the crushing blow most people tend to see is the uppercut crushing blow, and that's because somebody threw out like a high attack, and then the person that did the crushing blow ducked the high attack. Well, the high attack completely missed, and then the person came up with an uppercut, and that triggered the crushing blow. That's the most common crushing blow in Mortal Kombat 11.
My friends that do not care about fighting games because they think it's like a joke and not a good game, like worth investing time into, is if the next Mortal Kombat game has a huge conquest mode like MK Deception, but like 100 times bigger. You can play with your friends. They have a Shaolin.
Sounds like they're talking about Mortal Kombat.
They have Tag 2v2 MK9 style, or even 3v3, so you can play with 3 different people, 6 people in total, friends. They have rank. They have cameo mode. They have variation mode. They need to have like 20 different modes. They can even throw in invasion. They can throw in towers. It needs to be a huge fighting game with all these different elements, so that if you're someone that doesn't care about the gameplay or think it's like dumb, at least you have like 20 different things to play around.
You know what's crazy? He named all of that stuff, right? He named all of that stuff. All that stuff is in Mortal Kombat 11. All that stuff is in Mortal Kombat 11. That's one of the reasons why Mortal Kombat 11 sold so well. He said something about like a Deception's Conquest mode. We have something similar to like that in Mortal Kombat 11, but not to that extent, and that's the Crypt. The Crypt is very similar to the Conquest mode, with the exception of you going to like different realms and stuff like that. But it's very similar to like the Conquest mode of Deception. He mentioned something about like tag-based fights. You do have that in the Towers of Time. You do have like tag-based fighting in the Towers of Time with like other players too. So like let's say me and Zal, we can be playing Mortal Kombat 11. We can go into the Towers of Time and fight like this boss character or whatever, and I could be tagging him in, and he could tag me in or whatever, as we chip away at this boss character's life. And if we win, we get like a bunch of cool cosmetics and stuff like that. So Mortal Kombat 11 actually does have that. It's not so much in like the versus aspect of it, but it does have something like that. In terms of cameos, they do have something like that in the Towers of Time. You can get like a Boraicho cameo. You can get like a Sector cameo thing. Now, a lot of times you don't see the body, the person, but you do see like their move come out. And on top of that, if you did want to play like a cameo S type character, you do have Stunt Double Johnny Cage, and you can take that to versus mode, and that'll essentially give you a cameo character. In fact, cameo Stunt Double Johnny for Mortal Kombat 11, when I play him, I actually named him Cameo Cage. Before I used to name him Stunt Double Johnny, but now I name him like Cameo Cage because it's basically the cameo system that's in Mortal Kombat 1 to a worse extent, because it sucks because he's stuck in the animation way too long. But that's basically what it is. So we do have like a cameo S type system, as well as a tag based S system. You have the Towers of Time. You have like the arcade ladders in Mortal Kombat 11. You do have like the story mode in Mortal Kombat 11. So basically everything he named basically is in Mortal Kombat 11. And he basically said you would need to add all of that for the next Mortal Kombat to be a success. And we all know Mortal Kombat 11 is the best-selling NetherRealm game of all time. It's one of the, if not the most successful NetherRealm game of all time, and one of the most successful and best-selling fighting games of all time. So Rio has a point with that. You do need these mini games to appeal to the more casual audience. In fact, you also have like the AI battles too. So if people don't even want to fight and they just want to watch the computer beat the crap out of each other, you can. In fact, I used to do streams where it would just be an AI battle, and I have like my audience choose the team that my AI team would go against. And then I would tweak the AI teams, because you can do attributes and stuff to each character to dictate how they're going to fight within the AI. And I would do that live on stream for entertainment. And that's so casual. It's so casual. So yes, MKReo has a great point when he says that.
And invest time into, and also bring back the Crypt like MK11, but make that even bigger. So it'd have to be a massive big project. And it sucks that the only way to make a fighting game big these days is to do that, unless you can be the exception. I guess make a game that a lot of people like playing, like Street Fighter 6, where the gameplay is I guess considered to be fun. And I guess Street Fighter 6, I don't know much about because I don't play it, but it's not really like an overhead low walk up 50-50 game, even though it does have a lot of offensive stuff. But it's probably the most different in terms of still being an offensive game compared to all these other games. Because like you got Tekken 8, MK.
I mean, in terms of Street Fighter 6 has that. Like, they have their conquest type mode or their crypt type mode, where you run around with your created character and you do like these side missions and stuff like that. So Street Fighter 6 has something for the casuals, because that it takes hours to complete that mode too. I still haven't completed that mode, and they keep adding to it too with every character DLC character that they drop. So like, yeah, Street Fighter 6 has a mode like that. They also have like a little arcade section for the casuals and stuff like that. So like, no, Street Fighter has modes for the casual audience, not just the straight up fighting, even though the straight up fighting in it is also really good too. It has modes for other characters. And for the most part, I mean, Mortal Kombat's success has really hinged on its other side modes. I mean, if you think about it, you think of like MK Deception. There's a reason why people think MK Deception is one of the best 3D fighting games, especially within the Mortal Kombat genre, and that's because you had the chess game, the chess combat, and you also had like the what was it, like the Tetris-esque combat, where you're playing basically like Tetris, and you had the little two avatars fighting, and if you lose, one avatar would do the fatality on the other. So they had like mini games like that. If I'm not mistaken, Armageddon, Mortal Kombat Armageddon had the kart racer, which is kind of like Mario Kart or whatever. So like, and then both of those games also had like a Conquest S mode for the story mode. So Mortal Kombat has been doing this for a while now. Mortal Kombat has been doing stuff like this for decades, and they've seen success doing so. So it's not even something that's like new or whatever like that. Like, if you really think of some of the most popular games that's out, yeah, some of them like Marvel vs. Capcom has just been like huge success, Street Fighter 2 and stuff like that. But that's around the time when the fighting game genre was still relatively new, and there was a lot of people exploring it and stuff like that. But no, for the most part, like, these fighting games has always needed something more. They always needed something else to appeal to the casuals.
One Guilty Gear anime games, they're all doing like ridiculous overhead 50-50 lows into combo loops into repeat. So I guess that's one thing that Street Fighter 6 has going for it, which is why a lot of people are gravitating towards it and why it's so big over in Japan.
And one of the biggest things that people talk about Street Fighter 6 is the throw loops.
I mean, I don't think the mix-ups are that complicated in Street Fighter 6. A lot of it has to do with just like, for example, the throw loops.
Yeah, see, the throw loops.
Corner, they're very strong. It essentially comes down to throw, shimmy, maybe you do a drive rush into overhead. I think the mix-ups are pretty elementary, but I do believe that you're onto something. I do think Street Fighter, because it's a global phenomena, because it's had a community for such a long time, and essentially most of the popular games that people play in the FGC almost exclusively all Capcom games, right? Like Third Strike, we saw like a couple of years ago came back and had like 1,000 players. That's incredible. Marvel, I don't think it performed to that standard, but people still play that game. Marvel's Capcom 2.
Yeah.
Super Turbo is still being played, and obviously Street Fighter 6 now as well had. When it was
Is Street Fighter Alpha still being played? Like, Alpha 3 was phenomenal. That's one of my favorite Street Fighter games.
Selling very well as well. I think it's up to close to, it's approaching 7 million, which for fighting game standards is excellent. So that game, I think, has a global following, to the extent that it can, it's kind of growing and it can always kind of support itself. And I think there's enough, culture in that community and enough unity, particularly overseas, to the extent that sponsors will throw money at it, thinking that there might be something there, right? There might be a payout at the very end. But I think essentially that's the only game that could work in the FGC, whereas pretty much all the other ones, like Mortal Kombat, they just advertise to the general gaming market, and that's how they make their money. Not that Capcom doesn't, right? Of course they do, but we can all agree that maybe Street Fighter, has a more hardcore FGC audience than Mortal Kombat has ever had.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, Street Fighter definitely has a more hardcore FGC audience. But I would also say Mortal Kombat is also global as well. The problem with Mortal Kombat is due to its gratuity and nudity, it tends to be banned in certain markets. Like, for example, I don't think they can watch or buy or play Mortal Kombat games in like Japan or China and some of those other markets. So that's the only thing that prevents Mortal Kombat from truly being global and even being even big, even way bigger than like Street Fighter. It's because it's like literally banned in certain markets.
Again, how many people really downloaded the game, right? I mean, how many people do we think downloaded
You're
it?
referring to 2XKO?
You're talking about 2XP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious too. It's not on
Right,
Steam, so like Steam would actually give numbers,
I tried to look
but
at the results.
like the
I
Riot
tried to do
client doesn't
whatever
give
an AI
numbers,
search, Google
unfortunately.
search, and I didn't really get much. It's probably related to the fact that, you know, whether it's the cosmetics or, you know, everything surrounding the game that you could purchase, so they can make their money that way. I assume that probably flopped to a large extent. And now they kind of, you know, they had, to the extent obviously they had to lay off people, half the staff. I think again that's probably related to.
Well, let's say 13 million bought it. I mean, downloaded it, right?
Okay,
That's the same number of people that
it's a nice
bought Mortal Kombat
conservative.
and Street Fighter.
It's a nice conservative
That's
number.
a big number, right? Let's say 13 million downloaded it.
That's
For one, for a free-to-play model,
small for mobile.
yes, that's my point. So for a free-to-play game, that's a very small number of people.
I'm about to say
Of
that's a
that
conservative
13
number.
million, and I'm highballing everything. Let's say 40% of that. So half would be somewhere around 6.5 million. So let's say of that 13 million, let's say 4.5 to 5 million people were actually going to spend some money. For a free-to-play game, that's just not enough. It sounds like a lot, but it's not enough to justify a 120-man development team. It just can't. And I promise you, the numbers are.
Hold on. Wait. That might be a little too much of a highball, Tom. Because you say, you know, 120, 160 man team or whatever. You're saying like 4 million people willing to spend money. Like the least amount of money they can spend is like $20 in that game. So like you get 4 million people dropping $20. Like you're talking what, 4 times 20 is $200 million. $200 million is a lot, man. It's a lot.
Not that high, not to that extent. I promise you, 2XKO does not have 5 million people spending money on it, and I highly doubt it has 13 to 15 million downloads. So the numbers,
which that's crazy.
It's extremely small.
That's crazy. If it doesn't have 13 million downloads, like it's on PlayStation and Xbox and on PC. Like PlayStation alone has almost 100 million people playing it, or 100 million subscribers. Well, no, I think it's close to like 60 people that are 60 million subscribed to like PlayStation Plus or something like that. But then you also have Xbox, which I think the Xbox has sold over 30 million units. And then you also have PC, which there's over 150 million people on PC. So for it to have a free to play to only have like 13 million, that is very low. That is relatively low.
As the year